Hey, this is BlkWmnAnimator coming back to you with another video. This video is going to be about how to use LinkedIn to your advantage as a visual artist. So LinkedIn is a professional site, totally different from Facebook and how it should be used. You can use it to post kind of a more enhanced resume. You can post your previous job history, your school history, and then post work and stuff like that. They have kind of a news feed where you can post links to articles and become an expert through that way of people who, whether they connect with you, they're your connections, or if they're strangers, they can interact with you, see what you post. And it is also a way to get jobs because they have a job component where you can search for jobs. So I wanted to create a video because I don't know how often visual artists think of using LinkedIn to their advantage, but I want to give you some kind of keys that I've learned both from just personally doing things and from going to different conferences on my nonprofit side of what I do. So here it goes. First, use your real name. I go by BlkWmnAnimator, but that's not the name I'm going to go by on LinkedIn. It's a professional site. You should use your real name. No monikers, no fake name like you're trying to run from the feds or something like that. You always use your real name. Also, add a real picture. This also goes into it being a professional site. Even if you're an illustrator, a 3D modeler, just an artist in general, do not use an illustration for your picture. You can use the area below all that to show your artwork. You don't need to use your profile picture as a way to show your artwork. Show your face so that people can know what you look like, and you're taken more seriously when you do that. Next is fill out your profile thoroughly. So add previously held jobs and your current job. There's some strategies to how you describe that. You're not just gonna kind of copy and paste the description from your job description. You want to put bullet points of impressive things you've done, kind of action words, and then if you've improved on things, like for example, when I worked at Turbo Squid, I could put within the first 3 months I became the second highest inspector as far as how many inspections I did. So that's kind of a numerical, that's kind of in depth, but that's kind of a numerical way you can show what you did at the company. For visual artists, it could be like you improved the pipeline by 20%, or just different things like that, and just impressive things you did. If you kind of implemented a new way of doing a certain task, just not just what you did at the job, but what you kind of did over and beyond, or something that was impressive, shows your work ethic and determination. Also in this section, when you fill out your profile thoroughly, you can add films, TV shows, video games, and other productions you worked on to show your experience. So like mention the big stuff that you've done. The next one is put 1 or 2 keywords in your headline. So there is a place, I think it's below your name, where you can kind of just put some descriptions of kind of who you are. It's a very short, they don't really allow a lot of characters. Below that they allow like a more of a description, but in the top part it's suggested that you only use 1 or 2 keywords, and use keywords that people will search. So currently I believe I have 3D artist and maybe animation educator or speaker, and so you don't really want to put illustrator, singer, guitarist. Like, you don't want to kind of spam it. You want just 1 or 2 keywords that when people look at your profile, they can get a gist of, okay, if I scroll further down, what will I learn about this person? So you gotta kind of concentrate on something in that top headline. Next is add your work. Now, in the past few years, LinkedIn has added the ability to add both photos and videos. They might even let you add a Behance gallery. Don't quote me on that, but it's very powerful as a visual artist to show your work. So if you have any illustrations, storyboards, concept art, or if you're an animator or 3D modeler, if you have a demo reel that you can show, if you can show clips of any projects that you've worked on. I'm not sure if there's a limit, but try to put your really good stuff there so that when maybe even recruiters come by your page, they'll be able to see your work and kind of glean, and then they can reach out to you if there are any job opportunities. Another thing you can do is create a custom LinkedIn URL. That is just going to make it easier for you to be found if you give people your LinkedIn URL. It's easier to remember. When I'm thinking about my LinkedIn URL, I'm like, okay, it's www.linkedin.com. Then you do the /IN and then / and then whatever your customized URL thing. So mine is Deborah Anderson 0 because Deborah Anderson was already taken. And so it's very beneficial to make it simpler so you can remember it and give it to people if they have to ask, or if you have to email it. You don't always have to look up the kind of string of numbers and letters that are at the end. Add a personal message when connecting. So something just for personal reasons that I don't like is when people just click connect and they have the typical, I'd like to add you on LinkedIn. And I'm like, how do I know you? Or why do you want to connect? I don't understand. I mean, some people will just add everybody, and which is totally fine. It's just sometimes people like me will not add you as a connection if they don't know why you like to connect, because they like to keep theirs with people in their industry and just don't want to try to add the most people as possible. And then that maybe could start a conversation. So especially if you want to reach out to people who are at studios where you're doing research, or want to do informational interviews, or just want to connect with people who are in your same industry, sending a message is very powerful. Not many people do it. The majority of people don't send a message. So if you're reaching out to someone, and if you're interested in being an animator and you're reaching out to an animator, you can even add in, oh, I just read an article where you were featured and I wanted to connect to just stay in touch with you. So that's something that I do. If I see a video with someone, I'll go look them up, and then if I see that their LinkedIn is kind of active, then I'll reach out and connect. But if it's just like bare bones, they probably don't get on LinkedIn anyway, and they probably will accept my connection maybe 5 years from now. So but sending a personalized message, I highly advocate for that. Post on your LinkedIn timeline. So I'm not sure how many visual artists do this, but it's kind of like an SEO, search engine optimization type of deal, with how when Google kind of sends its robots to aggregate information, if you have like a blog on your website that is getting updated continually, that helps you move up in the Google search engine. So it's similar to LinkedIn. If you're constantly posting, then you're constantly getting in front of people's eyes, and then you have more exposure. So then maybe a recruiter or another person in your field is more likely to reach out to you, see you, and whatnot. Post relevant articles and videos. Don't post the same things you would post on Facebook. Like, again, LinkedIn is a professional site, so you should only be posting professional things. Whether it's what you did this past weekend or cute dog pictures, that's not what you post on LinkedIn. Additionally, don't try to post like articles that have nothing to do with your industry. Like, if you like spiders, that's cool, but unless you're like you did a spider project and it's an art project and you're kind of supplementing the information with what you found during your research, okay, but just don't be posting like, oh, look, this fireman saved a person's life. I mean, that's cool, but that's for Facebook. It's not really for LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you should be trying to use it to become a professional in your field. So for me, I would possibly post my YouTube videos, post any articles I've done, the articles, and just share your information so that you can get in more people's eyes, and then you become more of a professional because you're the go-to person for the conversation on a certain topic. Another tip is comment on other people's posts, especially if it's professionals that you admire or want to get in contact with. It's really good to kind of stay in front of them. So I went to a conference one time, and this is for like real life, but one of the presenters said something about if you want to meet a particular person, you can kind of find out, oh, what bar do they attend, and then you kind of go to the bar regularly, and then you start talking to them, and then eventually you kind of become little associates, and then you can maybe work in your way to what you actually want for them. It seems more organic. So that's the same strategy you can use for LinkedIn. If you want something from somebody, it will be more strategic to kind of comment on their stuff all the time so they can see, oh, this is like a person who's continually engaging with me, and then they're more likely to remember your name. You can have some conversation in the comment section, and then eventually you can maybe reach out to them and ask them a question or something, whatever you would like to ask them. Next is write articles. This won't be applicable to everyone. Not everyone can write an article about something, but I've written several articles on LinkedIn, and it really has helped get more eyes on my profile. I wrote, because I created a video about how I got my job in South Korea, and then I did a blog post on my website, and I did an article on LinkedIn. So that article, I still get likes and comments, and I wrote that article on LinkedIn maybe a year and a half ago, and so it's still relevant. People are still liking it. People are still asking me questions. So if there's anything that you're kind of interested in, if you do maybe a art study or something, you can write an article about it. Join groups is another tip. For me, specifically being in the visual industry, groups are really hit and miss. I'm sure they're hit and miss generally, because people can just spam the group a lot, or it's just people who don't have very good skills sharing their artwork. But if you find a good group, you can kind of get some advice, post your work, kind of similar to a forum that you would post to where you're trying to get people's feedback. So some groups, if you find a good group, then you can learn a lot. The next tip is recommendations. So ask for recommendations from anybody that you've worked with in the past. If you've done freelance, you can ask for recommendations from those people. If you've had a job, if you're just graduating from college, any classmates maybe that you've worked with, or professors. And this will help with people seeing your work ethic, your team player skills, and what you offer as a professional with your skill set. And so you, when asking for recommendations, you can be more targeted. If you have a job, then you can say, hey, Jenny, can you write a recommendation, mention this project that we worked on and kind of what I did around it. And then I also suggest don't ask for recommendations from people who haven't worked on you or haven't worked with you. I know that sounds like a weird tip, but I have gotten a couple recommendations requests from old coworkers, and I'm like, I didn't even work on a project with you, and I just personally don't feel like it's ethical for me to write a recommendation. No matter how much I like you, I'm not going to write a recommendation for you if I haven't worked directly with you. And so, because The people who write recommendations for you, maybe somebody will reach out to them and ask about you, and then I have to make up even more stuff if I'm unethical. And then it just saves me a lot of time, and in that I didn't actually work with you. So, but ask for recommendation from people that can show that people like working with you and you're a team player. Next is the skills and endorsements section. I personally really don't like the skills and endorsement section, and I would imagine HR people maybe don't even pay attention to this section, because I've had several people endorse me for things that they don't know I know how to do. I know I personally kind of remove that and kind of manage my skills and endorsement section to only leave people who I have worked with. I know everybody is not going to take the time to do that. So skills and endorsements is a possible thing, but I don't imagine it's that important. So yeah, that's pretty much how you can use LinkedIn to your advantage as a visual artist. There might be some other things. If you have any other ideas about how people can use LinkedIn to their advantage, leave it in the comments. If you have any questions, also leave it in the comments. If you need to know exactly how to do a particular thing, I would suggest that you Google it first, but I can possibly find out how to do it as well. And if you have any other questions, just please leave it in the comment section. Please make sure to subscribe and follow me on my social media at BlkWmnAnimator on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. See you later.